All right, so we'll get started. Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Louis Polito with the Belmar Public Library. I want to thank you all for coming tonight for tonight's author time with Joanna Kloster over here, and she's going to be talking about her book Lily Unleashed. Joanna is a teacher turned author who's also an animal welfare advocate associated with the Humane Society of the United States, and she is the author of Lily Unleashed, and she's going to tell us about the story and what motivated her to write it. So, Joanna, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And take it away.
Thank you, Louis. Right, and thank you for. I really so appreciate this, both of you, my bud and the drive. Thank you, sweetie. And unfortunately, we don't have more folks, but that's how it goes because the message will still get out. Right. So, without further ado, we shall get started. What's really behind that doggy in the window?
Hold on, you want to maybe if you hit slideshow on top.
Oops, let's do that. Silly me, I forgot to do that.
Up along the top.
Wait, there it is, slideshow.
No, above.
Wait, right there.
Yeah.
Wait, from the beginning.
Yeah.
There we go.
There you
Okay, now we've got it. It's interactive. I made it work. There we go. What's really behind that doggy in the window? So, who am I? As Louis said, I'm a veteran elementary teacher. Here's my class. One of my classes, we were on the bottom, if you can see the photo, we were raising money for Heifer International, another group, an animal welfare advocate. This is an example of my table that I take out. That's at my farmer's market. It's an educational table, and if you can see the little cage, I always carry a little stuffed dog inside to show people this is a visual. This is what the mother and father breeding males, the mother and father breeding dogs live in 24/7. If they're lucky enough to live 10 years, that's what they get. All they get. It's horrendous. And so a visual always helps. The author of Lily Unleashed, and then just me and my animals. I've been an animal lover since. There's Melinda. That's you lived right in those behind my dad.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
now I know you were right there, and you were there, but who is?
Oh, that's Diane Redling. She lived next door in that house, right? And she had Scout, and that's Patches. Yeah, unfortunately, sorry, Dad, your head got cut off. But Melinda lived right above me, where I am the little one with the short hair and the little kitty. That is the projects. No, I don't know if you knew what on Cantello Street. Did you know where that was?
No, they didn't call it the projects.
Oh.
By the time we were in high school.
Oh, Cantello Street and Peter Street. Do you remember where that was?
No.
When you're coming out of the tunnel cuts, when you come out of the Lincoln Tunnel,
Then you go up
that hill right there. That's where we lived, right?
It's like a street that paralleled.
And it was for city workers. It was for people who like firemen and police officers.
Veterans.
Yeah, things. Oh, okay. So why am I here? Well, that's easy. I went to the dogs. I thought that would get a laugh. I was inspired by the love of a tiny white puppy mill survivor, and there he is. That's the picture we got when they sent it over the email, and we fell in love. He was a failed breeder male my family adopted from a saint. Mary Palmer was the founder of the North Central Maltese Rescue, and he found salvation at the last dog auction. They had these dog auctions, and they'd bring the puppy mill breeder dogs into them. And this was in mostly the Amish and the Mennonite communities, and they'd take dogs that they weren't having luck with anymore, and they'd try to sell them to another breeder, and maybe you want them. It was the last one, though. They closed that one down, but then they still open up others. He was my special boy in so many ways for 12 years until he passed on my birthday, as if I'd ever forget him. He died on my birthday from congenital mitral valve disease, which is common to many small puppy mill dogs. My message is, it's Puppy Mill Awareness Month. That's what September is. And so as a grassroots effort, I am out to share this message with people. Now we're going to do a little warm up. Okay, those are examples of what they look like where they're. I didn't put a lot of the ugliness in here, no graphicness, but those are down. A quick warm up is, so approximately how many puppy mills do you think exist in America today?
Today?
There's
Yes.
a lot of them. I can't even imagine. I know
A number?
300?
I would say even more.
Over 10,000.
Stop.
Wow.
Look at,
Oh my.
How many puppies are produced annually in these dog factories? What do you think?
Ooh, that's not good.
It's like 20, 30,000.
Over 2 million.
Oh my God.
Wow.
I gotta take a picture of that.
Okay.
I gotta take a picture of that. Because
And there's more. What percentage of the dogs in America's shelters are purebreds? Now, these are the like your animal shelter in your town.
Right.
What percentage of the dogs in a shelter are purebreds? How many do you think? 5%, 10%, 50%? What do you think?
Well, purebreds are what come from these puppy mills, right?
Yeah, and they're a collie or a shepherd. They're not
Right.
mixed breeds.
They're not mixed
They're
breeds.
all purebreds. You know, the name of, like I said, a collie, a German shepherd, a
Right.
Maltese.
Maybe like 30%.
Well, you're not far. Over a quarter of them.
Yeah, because
So-
they sell the ones that they.
All right, so I was going to say, and why? Yeah, because, and we're going to learn that very soon. So where do they come from? They come from puppy mills. And these dogs that are dumped there, that are purebreds, are raising the numbers, and they're causing euthanasia of dogs that are dying only because of the overpopulation.
Yeah.
If those puppy mill dogs weren't coming in, you wouldn't be killing as many dogs that are needing homes. And that's what I've learned in my 10 years. It's really disturbing, and these statistics come from the Humane Society of the United States.
Is there a large percentage of these puppy mill dogs that they tried that end up being euthanized at a very young age because there's so many of them? Or?
Oh, no. They're all sent to pet stores. Those are the young ages. They're the young ones. They usually take them away from their mothers and fathers too young.
Right.
No, they go to the pet stores.
Oh.
They rarely. Well, some of the puppies are surrendered by owners
Yeah.
who bought them from a pet store, but usually the people, they've fallen in love with that puppy. They're trying everything, and you're going to see it on the next slide. So why don't you hold that
Yeah,
question?
sure.
Okay. So here's how it works. The puppies are born at the cruel breeding facilities, the puppy mills. They're taken from the mother way too soon. They're sold to a dog broker, a middleman, who puts them in the truck. Then he goes to your puppy mill and he gets dogs, and he goes to your puppy mill and he puts them in he mixes them all up. And but many of them are sick. We're going to get to that next slide. That's the problem. He mixes them up, then they get to the pet store, and the cycle continues.
Does
Okay.
it always have to be a pet store? Or can it be a private owner that has...
No, or online. It's either pet stores or the advertisements online. Have a puppy. Look at the puppy. That's it. No, they won't be private. If they're private, well, they could be a backyard breeder, which is why you need to be aware of, and you need to see where mommy lives. How is mommy treated? Is she treated like a family dog, or is she in the back in some garage? You know, like that. So why share the problem of pet store and online puppies? Well, in addition to the cruelty perpetrated upon these innocent dogs, there's an elephant in the room. Puppy mill dogs are a huge consumer protection problem. Hi, welcome. Yes, come on in. Oh, okay. The first problem is the dogs come in and they're physically and emotionally sick. Okay, they're delivered to unsuspecting. You go in and buy a puppy, you think you're getting the top of the line because they're purebreds. They've been certified by the AKC, the American Kennel Club. So the first thing is, many come in with parvo. And I met a woman 3 years ago. She got a dog from my local pet store, and she contacted the Humane Society of the United States. They had a form. They want to know. And so because I was in that town, I got involved. She ended up spending, in 3 weeks, over $6,000 to save that dog, on top of the $1,500, because it had parvo. Now, parvo is contagious to other dogs, which is why when they put them in the van and they pick them up, they're sick. They're infecting other dogs, and you don't know it for a few days. So you're waiting on that dog to come into the pet store because they're trying to get it in there as soon as possible to make the money. And then you get that dog home, you immediately are falling in love with it, and then within 2 or 3 days it starts vomiting and having diarrhea, and then it's sick, and it usually kills them. I mean, the survival rate is not high. She lucked out. Her little doggy lived. The other problem is this one. This is really dangerous. It's a bacterial infection called campylobacteriosis. It's like MRSA. You know what MRSA is? You get it in the hospital. This is because some breeders at puppy mills are over-inoculating the pups, the babies, with antibiotics. And they're creating an antibiotic strain, resistant strain of campylobacteriosis. The problem with that is we can get it. And I will show you a statistic at the bottom of this slide about that. Now, congenital conditions from poor breeding. They breed together, the mothers and the sons, the daughters and the fathers, the brothers and the sisters. They interbreed them. These dogs are coming out with messed up legs, messed up knees, heart problems that you don't see until you've fallen in love after a year. Now it's got problems. You don't want to get rid of it. But then sometimes you can't afford it, and you end up surrendering it to the shelter. And that's why the overcrowding starts. So, and the next one is behavioral issues. This is what Cagney suffered from. Cagney he had severe separation anxiety. He even started nipping, but not people. He would nip your pants legs. He was very territorial. They come in with trauma like PTSD. And I know I worked with Dr. Franklin McMillan, who was with Best Friends Animal Society, and he's done studies where he's done studies on dogs that people had that they got from a shelter, that were never abused, or they got from a friend. Somebody's dog had puppies, and it was an accident. And then he studied the puppy mill dogs, the breeder parents, and he compared, and he's interviewed the owners of these dogs. And consistently, the puppy mill breeder dogs, when they were finally adopted, they were lucky enough to be rescued and adopted, they came out with compulsive behaviors. The spinning, the barking, the staring, the separation anxiety. They have a whole battery of behaviors that are so consistent. But then he also did it with pet store puppies. Not the parents, because the parents are the ones that are locked in cages and they have such PTSD. He did it with the puppies who live with mom in that cage for like 8 to 9 weeks. They're locked in a cage. He studied those, and he found those dogs, the pet store puppies, are much more aggressive. They're more prone to bite. They're still hard to train, and they're hard to acclimate to usual life and home. They still have issues. And so he's done a lot of work, and he is the doc. I sent him my book, my manuscript, and I said, Doc, would you be willing to read it and tell me what you see, any red flags? And he did. He gave me 2 places where he said, this wouldn't be. Can you adjust it? And I did, because I had to make it like a disclaimer. Lily had to say, oh, Cagney nips, but that's not like most puppy mill dogs. Yeah. But because Cagney did nip, and so I had it in the book. And he wrote the afterword. Well, he really wrote the forward, but I put it in the back of the book. That it made me cry. What he wrote about that it was valuable for kids to see one kid speaking up. You can do it. You can believe in something, and you can make a difference. And that's what she was doing, because she made a project for her class to teach them about it. And so he wrote a really beautiful, like I said, that forward. Now, here's an interesting statistic. From January of 19 to March of 21, 56 people in 17 states were infected with Campylobacter. Lab evidence shows that puppies purchased from pet stores were the sort. They traced all of these dogs, all these people, they traced it back to a Petland pet store.
Oh my God.
Wow. I know that. They got sick from this one dog out of this one pet store. And that's just one. But Petland, doesn't want you to know that. Oh no, they don't want you to. And they don't want you to know the other things where they keep the dogs. Sometimes they take the dogs out of the cages and they put them down in the basement when they're sick, and they don't give them meds. They just hope that they'll get better, or they over-med, they give them, they don't even know what they're doing, and the puppies die. It's collateral damage, and it's disgusting. There is an example of a pet store worker who got sick. She got the Campylobacter. She's on the way to the hospital. It's really dangerous, that disease. Wow. So, okay, the next problem is unexpected vet bills. Why? Because pet families end up shelling out thousands of dollars to pay for these dogs that they've taken in that are sick, as I said. They've already paid the high price tag for the dog. Now he's sick, and you got to pay for that. And the last thing is, this is the worst. I don't know, it's hard to say which is the worst. Unscrupulous financing. Here's one example. And this was in the Washington Post. They got a puppy and a nearly 200% loan. States are now targeting pet stores that have loans that balloon up by town. You know, like you miss one payment, you can't afford the $5,000 dog. Well, we got a financing plan for you. But don't miss a payment, and they don't tell you that. Otherwise, your interest goes up like 300%.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
Yep. It's like buying a refrigerator. Sure, you can buy it on time. Now, this is the worst. Here's an example. The man was 95 years old. What business do you have selling him a puppy when he's 95? And it's a Chihuahua, so he can fall over it, break his neck. He can, step on it and crush it.
Right.
Oh, but Petland thought it was fine to sell a little baby Chihuahua puppy to an 95 and an 85-year-old woman. They also didn't know about the financing. He died within the year. So she lost his Social Security because he died. All she had was hers. Look at now. The price of the dog goes up from $4,595 to when they're done paying $19,000 for it. So she took that. Luckily, she told someone, and then she took it to the Attorney General. I know, but this is not an isolated case. The Humane Society of the United States has a lawsuit against Petland. And they're trying to sue them for the unscrupulous practices. Okay, the backstory of Lily Unleashed. It's his legacy. When we adopted him, our friends had gotten, it's really short, they got a dog from a breeder, and then they adopted the second one from a puppy mill. And that's when I first heard about a puppy mill. And we loved their dogs. They were Maltese. We would watch them. And so we did a good job because Cooper was a breeder male that was really afraid. We had him for the weekend, and the lady lady from the rescue called to check on Cooper just because she cares. And she come to find out, Cooper's doing really great, and he did great at the babysitters. And she said, would you think your friends would like a dog? So they sent that picture of Cagney. And that's when I started hearing about puppy mills, and I started learning. And then I learned the truth through research, and I just couldn't believe it. So I started writing about Cagney with my students because, during writing workshop, you write what you know, you write about your life, and you have to model the writing process. So I wrote about him and all his problems, and they had so many questions. Mrs. Kloster, they locked him in a cage. You don't do that to a dog. He slept, they had to be piled on top of one another. The cages were stacked, and they didn't take him out to go to the bathroom. Where'd they go? So I told them, and I shared that, and I could not find a book to explain this thing called commercial dog breeding.
You mean to tell me they actually had it so that the dogs on top would be doing their business,
called stacked cages.
And they would literally rain their
and they get sores. Down. Urine is very, very abrasive, and it burns their skin. Yes.
Oh, wow.
In fact, some dogs are so matted, like a Maltese, their hair will go down to the floor. Well, the back, underneath, if they've never been brushed in 7 years, you can imagine what their fur is like. You can't really, because we're not that cruel. And so it's so tight behind their bottom that they can't even go to the bathroom sometimes. Because it's so knotted and tight to their skin.
It's like a wool.
Yes. And it's yes. So by now, I couldn't find that book. And now Cagney's my heart dog, my shadow, my special boy. And I said, okay, I'm going to write one. And I started off writing a picture book. But when I took it to my writing group, they said, I love what you're trying to do, but I think your idea needs to be in a novel. Have you considered a novel? And I said, no. So 10 years later, I got a lot of guidance and a lot of revisions, and I really learned the craft of writing by reading books that I loved. And I learned I love what that writer did in that chapter there. What did she do? So I taught, you can be self-taught. I had a BA in communications, and I wanted to go into either advertising or public relations. Well, I'm doing that now. But anyway, so we would write his story 10 years later. I published it, and it's been endorsed by the HSUS and other experts in the field. So I had to get a branding. What would I think of? So I had to change. I got involved with an organization called Bailing Out Benji. That was a young woman who got a dog from a pet store and learned about puppy mills and was so incensed. She started protesting in front of the pet store. And in 5 years, they finally stopped selling puppies. Or I think he closed and he left. And he went to another town where they wouldn't protest. But she got so into it, she's created her own organization called Bailing Out Benji. They have chapters in almost every state. And she has literature, and I worked with her, but I can't sell my book at the same table. They're a nonprofit. So I do tell people, and you can go on her website, and you can find about any pet store in America. I'm not kidding. They've got the research. You can find out where the dogs come from at that pet store. And does that breeder have violations? And like, well, no, I don't want to buy a dog from you. You get dogs from breeders with violations. You call that a good thing? So you educate yourself. So I tell people when I'm out and about. So I needed to brand it, and I needed a logo. And so I'm like, I want the cage, and I want until every puppy mill is closed. And I said, yeah, that'll work. So it's a grassroots campaign. So I use Lily Unleashed, word of mouth, online sales, social media posts, my table, connections with other groups, which I've gotten connected with, some really fabulous people. Adopt, don't shop. That's our message. Go to shelters and rescues. And if you have to, go to a reputable breeder, and then you'll have to pay a lot of money. But if that's what you need to do, that's okay. But please know the breeder and know that you're getting a dog that's been loved and cared for and not some backyard breeder. So I reach out to schools. I'm really excited. I'm going to be at my community college in an ethics class. They talk about factory farming of animals. Well, this is factory farming of dogs. So in this semester, I get 2 classes to go to. It's really cool. I'm excited. Okay, so good news. There is good news in the battle to end puppy mills. 7 states have banned puppies. The whole West Coast banned it. California, Oregon, and Washington State, you cannot buy a puppy in a pet store.
New Jersey?
Not yet. They're really close, though. We've got Illinois, Maryland, Maine, and New York. That's really good, though. I mean, 5 years ago, we didn't have any of it. Mm-hmm. We also have over 450 communities have banned the sale of puppies. That's a lot. So there's a ripple effect that's happening. And right as I stand here, there are commissioners' meetings and meetings in communities where people are bringing it up to their city elders, their elected officials, and they're getting it banned in their towns. People like me are doing this and speaking before their city council. We say no to puppy mills. And there's 3 federal bills that are game changers. The Puppy Protection Act, Goldie's Law, and the CARES Act. I won't go into them, but really quickly, the Puppy Protection Act is about standards. What is life like in that mill? It's terrible, but now they'd have to let the dogs out every day. They don't do that now. Let them out for play. No stacked cages. Vet, they get to see the vet when they need it. They get water 24/7. That we even have to ask for this. That you have to have water available 24/7, and the mother can't be bred more than once every 2 years. So that's about standards. The Goldies Act is about enforcement. Now the USDA can go into your puppy mill, and if there are dogs that are looking sick, and they can confiscate them. Unfortunately, they can't right now. And it's called Goldie's Act for a reason, because Goldie was number 143. They get a little tag. And she was a golden retriever mama. And when the USDA went into their inspection, she was ridiculously emaciated. But they didn't write them up because, you know what? For 6 years, the USDA stopped writing violations. They said, oh, it's a teachable moment. You know what? You need to feed that dog more. We really expect you to do that. So when we come back, that dog will be looking better. They stopped writing violations. Can you believe this? Finally, they had to have an act of Congress to change that after 6 years. It's absurd, okay? It's very hard for normal people to understand, people with compassion.
Now, all these bills are passed? Are they federal law?
No, they're waiting to be passed.
They're waiting to be passed, okay.
Which is why I'm going to give you one of those. You'll see it next.
Wow.
And so Goldie, okay, so the inspectors left. They came back 3 months later for a courtesy check. And they're looking for Goldie. They couldn't find her until they found her. No, they had to euthanize her right then because she was. You couldn't believe the picture. I would never show the picture. I thought there might be kids here. She was beyond emaciated. I couldn't believe a dog could be this skinny. They had to euthanize her. So a beautiful politician in New York State created Goldie's Act that gives the USDA the power to confiscate dogs, to also levy heavier fines. So that like $10,000, I mean, like right now they give them $3,000. I mean, big fines, or to close it down. Yeah. But they can't do that yet until they pass that. And finally, the CARES Act takes in both of them. And that's another, I asked my people, my USDA, the Humane Society, which one should I choose? Because there's 3 of them. And I have a little strip of paper that I'll give you, and it looks like this. Wait, no, but the bills take time to become a law.
Question for you.
That's the problem.
So, You see on TV like Animal Planet that show Animal Cops and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Don't they have any powers to go in and if they
those
see like
are-
abuse of animals?
But
Is that considered
but
abuse
that's
of animals?
different than a puppy mill. They don't go to mills.
Oh.
That's not their jurisdiction. They just go to like,
So-
residents who have dogs that are being mistreated
Oh, okay.
or being locked up on a chain.
Oh,
Things
they
like
don't go
that.
after puppy mills.
No, they don't.
weird.
That's not their domain. They'd have to call up the USDA.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's a business.
Oh, I
It's a
see.
bit-
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, okay.
So what works right now? The power of your purse. The American consumer is the most powerful entity in the world. When we stop buying dogs at pet stores, puppy mills will stop supplying the pet stores, and it dry up the source. And that does help. And there are good news. I didn't mention this. Puppy mills have been closing because people are buying less of them at pet stores and online. So the action that's needed is this. Share the message, adopt, don't shop. You can go to my website, Empty Cages Press, and there's a lot of information on how to help. There's a whole lot of things that it's right there. Call your legislators and say something like this. And I've got the strips. I pass them out to people. Call Chris Smith. He's your legislator down here. And say, my name is so-and-so, and I'm a voter in whatever your city is, and I'm calling to urge if it's Chris Smith, to co-sponsor the Puppy Protection Act and the Better Care for Animals, H.R. 5041. These two bills will protect the welfare of dogs and consumers by requiring increased standards of care for dogs in the facilities and allow the USDA to confiscate wounded, sick, and dying dogs. And I pass these out. I'm out wherever I am, in the store, the grocery. I don't care. I'm out enjoying dinner, and I see people have a lot of dogs out where I live in North Carolina. I'm like, oh, you're a doggy mom. Oh, I think you might be interested in this. I become like a salesperson.
Everybody on the street.
I know.
Yeah,
So
around here,
remember,
a lot of dog lovers around here.
Yes, yeah. I'm going to leave you some too.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
mom next door that always.
Yeah, that's Buddy. Yeah, yeah. He doesn't like me for some
He's
reason.
adorable.
He doesn't like me. He keeps.
He comes in here and no matter where that mouse is, he finds it.
Oh, because it must have a certain smell.
Yes.
Yeah. So remember, grassroots works. It's how the book Wonder inspired the Choose Kindness anti-bullying campaigns at schools. Did you see that movie? It's with Julia Roberts. She played the mother. The boy had a facial deformity.
Oh, wonder.
Yes. That became like 2 years after it started building. And what happened is it got into reading groups, reading clubs, and people started sharing it around the country. Then they took it to school. Then teachers, it was like this movement that nobody made happen. It just had a life of its own. So I'm a dreamer, and I'm hoping that my book, by getting it into that Kind magazine that I put on Facebook, teachers will start seeing it and be inspired, because they wrote a blurb that said, there's a project in this book, like you can duplicate this project and share it. So Lily Unleashed, inspired by love. Empty Cages Press, powered by commitment and community. Together, we can end puppy mills. The ripple effect. Together, we can create that ripple effect. Together, we can let the dogs out.
I knew you would.
Go. There we go. Oh, it did. Wait. That's right there. I don't know why that comes up. It's too long, though.
Really?
Oh!
That's
Well, that bombed.
Closing time.
Skip ads.
Who let the dogs
We want to let the dogs out.
oh, look at the doggy.
So anyway, that's my little ending.
You'll have to have a
Oops.
recording of it.
So,
next
yeah,
time.
right. It'll work better. Yeah, I need to get my own computer, I
Now,
guess.
Wait a minute, I have a question real
Yes. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
quick. Okay, pet stores. I don't know anybody that buys dogs at pet stores. No one in my
Good. Good.
ever. But except when we were kids. But what about the people that go online
That-
and they find these dogs? And recently I know of one that bought it in Pennsylvania.
And Lancaster County is the worst.
Pennsylvania.
Dog breeder.
I hate to be prejudiced.
Oh, thank you. Great. The thing of it is.
And I'm
Oh,
with you at the beginning.
thank you. Thank you
I
so
wonder
much.
about that. Like, how do you? Now, with my son, he's in Tennessee. He
Oh.
bought the dog from
Let me show you this.
from a breeder. He says, no, but it's a breeder, Ma. And I said, well, yeah, but how do you know what it is?
How to find a responsible breeder.
Okay.
There are, and if you go on the
He
site,
says
yes,
that
there's
they're
things to look for,
responsible because
the
he-
questions to ask.
The mother
You know,
and
yeah.
father.
Right.
It was the mother and father, and the mother's, the owner, the breeder sent him pictures the other day. Here's the second litter or whatever. And like you said, I think it's only twice a year or once a
Right,
year.
it should-
that
yeah.
she gives birth. But I mean,
If you can't go, it's
because
really,
he's dealing with pit bulls, which are a whole nother thing. But
My
the
son
normal
has
dog,
one that he adopted from.
yeah, the normal dog, you don't go, you don't go to that extent.
Right.
Because it's not a pit bull, so you don't really care.
Yeah.
It's a cockapoodle or whatever. It's a mix of something.
and the really underhanded part of this is, they online, they show you pictures of, oh, look at, this is the birthing area, and this is the whelping area. They can show you anything they want, and there's a barn in the back that's filthy.
Right.
I know. So, and I mean,
So how do you?
you don't buy a dog online. I mean, that's,
So when you don't shop, you don't shop. You
Right,
don't.
right.
But with certain breeds, yes.
or you go locally,
Right.
unless you can meet it.
Somebody that had bought it.
Right.
And they couldn't keep it.
Right.
So he said
Right.
he would take the dog.
Right.
And my two little ones, like I have one that passed away in December. He was 16. And my other guy that I have home, he's got so many breeds in him that I don't even know. But he's 16 and a half, and he's still,
Wow,
Yeah.
that's fabulous.
Yeah.
You're doing a lot of good stuff and
Yeah.
good genes too, whatever that doggy, who has
Little
inside.
dog, he's something else.
But that's the bottom line. You need to go, you have to fight the urge. Oh, that cute little dog. I read a story of an individual that was milked for, they kept asking for her to send more money, like red flags all over the place. And I'm reading this whole thing saying, how dumb are you? I mean, when is enough enough?
They want
Right.
dog.
And to me, that's kind of selfish.
One of my girls at work actually adopted a breeding mother.
Oh,
And
wow.
when she brought her to the office, like her boobs were
Right.
hanging like.
I know.
And then she took two of the puppies, and one of them ended up dying at 4 years old.
Oh.
Beautiful, strong puppy, and had some form of cancer
Oh,
or
wow.
something. And the mom lived to be 10, but at least the last few years
Of it,
were good.
It knew love. It knew, yes,
She was
it
in
knew
a
care
good
and love. I know.
Yeah.
Now, what about the vet society, the veterinarian, they really don't.
They don't really get involved, unfortunately.
This is not money.
And there are some vets that are in cahoots with the mills. I've seen.
really? Yeah.
I'm not. I hate to say it, but and I have example. I mean, I've read it. There was that guy Daniel Gingrich, the one who had Goldie.
Yeah.
The vet that worked with him is being brought up.
Yeah,
Being brought up
there
on
you go.
charges
There you
because
go.
of It's
Yeah, because
it's
they
ridiculous.
The more problems you have with your dog, the more money.
We
Oh.
had a store that was on Route 18, which is like,
Yeah.
35, 30. And they closed for whatever reason, and they left all the dogs in there.
Oh my
And
God.
the person that had the business next door called the cops because all they could hear
Is the
was
dogs
the dogs barking.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
wow.
But how can you do that?
I know that. Oh, then in the rural areas, they're just on the side of the road. You should see where I live. It's right outside my town. It's very rural, and the dogs I see, the stories I see, it's just heartbreaking.
My son picked up a cat that somebody threw on the Garden State Parkway.
Oh my God.
And she was on the side of the road, a little kitty. And he saw her. He thought it was like a roadkill.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
But he saw her moving.
Oh.
And he stopped. And 8 years later,
Oh.
she died Friday. That's my husband's girl. She loves him.
Oh God, what a blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the thing. We try to educate people you have to know the questions to ask, and you can find them out on any kind of animal welfare site. The Humane Society, the ASPCA, everybody knows those names. Go on them and just, and then, of course they have to hear that too. And that's why we're out in the public, getting that word out at booths. I mean, I don't have the biggest town. We only have 30,000 people in the area proper, and then larger, in the outskirts. But I go to my farmer's market. I'm trying to do once a month, and I see all different kinds of people, not the same ones. Just getting that, because still Bill is selling puppies. It's Bill's puppies. Oh, I dropped a book at Bill's and a letter. And it said, he wasn't there, but his staff, whoever I gave it to, listened to me. And I just said, Bill, you provide a service. You're the only one who has reptiles, food, and reptile stuff. We need what you do, but the writing is on the wall. 7 states have already banned puppy mills. 450 communities have already banned. I said, and I know people that will not come to your store because you sell puppies. You could be a hero if you would bring in shelter dogs like PetSmart and Petco.
They do.
Right, they do that.
Yeah.
But he's not there yet, so I just keep sending him letters.
You ever read anything by him? He is a huge
No. Oh, wow.
He has
I
rescued over 400 dogs.
I need to take a picture of that.
He has a mystery series with this lawyer, Andy Carpenter, but there's always a dog involved. And
Because there's another writer that does that
David
too.
Roosevelt.
Oh, here it is. Nice.
He's got a ton
Sure.
of things out. Yeah.
I actually.
And he's also got a foundation. I mean, maybe you could even contact
I know
him.
that. I wonder if he has here. Let me take a picture of that too. There's a Facebook page that I subscribe to. It's called the Yappy Hour. And it's all dog authors that write about novels like that, or somehow there's a dog. There's always dogs.
Yeah.
And so, I need to see if he's ever been on that.
So Joanna, for those watching this video who'll be watching later on,
Right.
and may be more interested in, or may be interested in reading the book, how can people get a hold of your book? I know we'll have a copy of it
Sure.
in the library.
Well,
for those,
yeah.
But since it'll be available on our website and people nationwide can see this.
If they go to my website, they
Yeah.
can buy it through my website. There's
What's your website?
Empty Cages Press.
Okay.
Right.
.com?
.com.
Okay.
Right there's a button. You just press it. Goes right to Amazon. Goes to that store, not home. And if they want to reach me though, and they want a signed copy, they can reach me on my contact form.
Okay.
Because I've done that as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So that would be cool. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So this was video? What, her presentation was videoed?
Yes.
Yeah, it's right
we
there.
recorded it on video on camera right there. So the video.
You can edit out the part where I got up and took a picture.
That's okay.
It's all right.
Oh, here. Let me take this off.
It's just
Audience
us.
interaction right there. Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you, Joanna, for coming today. I really appreciate having a part of our Author Time series. Like I said, we'll have the video up and running on our website.
Oh, nice.
I'll send you the link to the
And
video
people
so you
maybe,
can share that out. so
That's
people can watch
important.
out. Yeah.
Even though they couldn't make it, I know people are busy. I get it. But to have that, they could, they can just watch that,
Yep.
and that's great. And if
Exactly.
you say that, if you have questions for her, please reach out to her
Yes.
website.
Absolutely.
That'd be great.
Okay.
So
We'll do
on
that.
Instagram, do you have the link? Like that's how.
On our website for the
It's
on the
Instagram. On your
on our Facebook page, we'll have
Oh,
the
is
links.
it?
Yeah, we'll have the link
You're
to
on
it.
Instagram.
We are on Instagram
Yeah.
too. So
Yeah.
they're linked. So when I post it, it'll go on both. It'll have the links and everything.
Because then I can take that story or that post
And
then
then
I
you can share that
which
up
is
as
what I
well.
did before.
Exactly. Okay, cool.
Thank you
Awesome.
so much for your
Well, thank you for coming.